So, lads, the WNBA have done it. They have done it. They have officially fined Sophie Cunningham every podcast episode.
Sophie Cunningham just dropped a bombshell that shows how absolutely desperate the WNBA has become. She claims the league is targeting her with fines every single time she speaks up. We're not talking about getting penalized for dirty plays or on-court altercations here. Instead, she's getting hit with financial penalties for appearing on podcasts and making TikTok videos. Yes, you heard that correctly. So here's what I want to know. Are these financial penalties actually meant as punishment, or is this just clever marketing disguised as discipline? Let's dive into this complete madness. Sophie Cunningham, who frankly wasn't a recognizable face to most basketball fans until this season, has somehow managed to rack up more league fines than any other woman in WNBA history. At least that's what the unofficial records suggest. And here's the truly wild part about this whole situation. She's not even violating any actual gameplay regulations while she's on the basketball court. The reason she keeps getting these monetary penalties? She's simply expressing her thoughts and opinions. She's speaking into recording equipment for podcast interviews and creating content on TikTok. That's literally the extent of her so-called violations.
I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA.
Holy sh! For this? For the pod? Again?
They didn't like my comments on Paige Bueckers.
No way!
I didn't even say anything bad.
On the quick whistle?
She actually came right out and said it herself. She's now officially 3 for 3 when it comes to getting financial penalties from the WNBA. And here's the kicker. She wasn't even upset about it. She was actually cracking up over the whole situation. Why was she finding it so funny? Because she's smart enough to realize that these monetary punishments are actually boosting her fame, increasing her market value, and making her wealthier than she's ever been before. The WNBA officials think they're shutting her up, but what they're really doing is handing her a bonus check every single time they decide to penalize her. And what was her terrible offense this particular time around? She made a comment saying that Paige Bueckers has a good whistle.
I love Paige to death. Do not get me wrong. I think, I think she's a hell of a player and, would love to play with her one day. But those refs were giving her every freaking whistle last night. You literally couldn't touch her. Couldn't touch her. And that shit is so annoying to me.
That's literally all she did. That's the big violation. That's what cost you $200, $300, or $500 in the current WNBA. Giving Paige Bueckers a compliment about her skill at getting referees to call fouls in her favor. Never mind the intentional elbows thrown at opponents. Never mind the hard body slams. Never mind when star athletes get literally pushed right in their faces. None of that matters. But Sophie giving props to Paige's ability to get referee calls? That's apparently where the league draws the line. Let me explain this situation because it's honestly almost laughable. Angel Reese can walk up to a microphone during an official press conference and publicly state that CaitlynClark gets special treatment from the officials. What happened to her? Absolutely nothing. She didn't lose a single penny. Kelsey Plum has actually stopped entire media sessions just to complain about how the referees are doing their jobs. Her punishment? $0. Stephanie White completely lost her cool after her team members practically body slammed CaitlynClark during a game. The financial penalty she received? Nothing at all. But when Sophie Cunningham mentions that Paige Bueckers has a talent for drawing referee whistles, the league suddenly responds like she just broke federal law.
Whistle last night. You literally couldn't touch her. Couldn't touch her. And that shit is so annoying to me. And if you're gonna do that, then give it to our guards. I just hate the inconsistency.
The pattern is clear, deliberate, and painfully obvious. Sophie's no fool. She understands exactly what's happening. She's being turned into their poster child for bad behavior. The WNBA has picked her to be their official troublemaker. But here's where things get interesting. Sophie is actually coming out ahead in this whole mess. And I mean way ahead. Let's look at the numbers here. Her initial penalty was $400. She got thrown out of a game, hit with that fine, and branded as the WNBA's newest villain. So what was the result of all this negative attention? Her team jersey completely sold out within 24 hours. Her TikTok followers skyrocketed from 300,000 to more than 1 million people. All of a sudden, major companies wanted to work with her. All of a sudden, people who had never watched a single WNBA game in their lives recognized her face and knew exactly who she was. That $400 penalty turned out to be the most profitable marketing move of her entire career. Then the league hit her with fine number 2.
$200 this time over TikTok.
And what was the outcome? Exactly the same thing happened all over again. Millions of people watched her content. Hundreds of thousands of new fans started following her accounts. More sponsorship opportunities came rolling in, along with even greater visibility. Sophie actually burst out laughing and responded with something like, "All right, you got it, buddy," when they slapped her with another penalty. Why? Because she's figured out the system by now. She hands over a small amount of money as a fine, and in exchange, she receives what amounts to a $1 million upgrade to her personal brand value. This isn't really a punishment anymore. This has become her entire business strategy.
We were talking about like our first week, what people had to say. Well, the WNBA fined me for talking about the refs.
No!
Like everyone's like, what is going on with the refs? And I'm like, I don't know. And you finding me $500 is not going to do shit.
You got fined for episode 1?
Dude, they fined me $1,500. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is just the beginning. I was like, you're kidding.
Oh, way. It's cool for the pod, but that's kind of a bummer. Do they put like, this is why you're being fined and this is why it's this much? Or is it like, hey, quit talking shit on us, Venmo us like $1,500?
No. What happens is they email our GM. She pulls me aside and she goes, "Come here, Soph, I have to talk to you." And this was in like front of everybody. And I was like, what did I do now? And she just smiled and she goes, "Hey, they're going to fine you again." I was like, I even told them, I even credited them that their job was hard. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that your job is easy. I did say that. And I said that I would not be good at it. Like, look at the whole picture. What are we doing? And then I'll get fined for that. And then I'll get fined for this. And then the fines continue. Yeah.
In the meantime, the WNBA ends up looking more foolish with each passing incident. Here's what they don't seem to understand. When you hit a player with a financial penalty, the whole point is that the punishment should sting enough financially to discourage them from repeating their behavior. But these monetary penalties aren't causing Sophie any real pain. Instead, they're actually making her more powerful. She's converting pocket change into massive profits. She's beating the league officials at their own strategy. And this is where the irony becomes almost too obvious to ignore. If the WNBA genuinely wanted to hurt her career, they should completely stop giving her fines. No financial penalty means no internet buzz. No internet buzz means fewer corporate partnerships and sponsorship deals. But the brilliant minds in charge of the league just can't help themselves. They need to show everyone who's really running things. So they continue handing her what are basically paychecks dressed up as punishments, and she keeps turning them into pure profit. Now let's discuss Paige Bueckers, because this is where the double standards become absolutely ridiculous. Paige has somehow been granted complete immunity from criticism. Her supporters have gone completely off the rails. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. These are fans who actually celebrate when Sophie gets hurt during games, who treat Bria Hartley like a hero simply because she got into a confrontation with Sophie once, who spend every waking hour on social media attacking anyone who has the nerve to say anything negative about their idol. And the league absolutely loves this dynamic. They go out of their way to shield Paige from any consequences. She literally pushed Sophie during a game not once, but twice. And somehow Sophie ended up getting whistled for the violations. Can you believe that? Paige does the shoving. The referee blows the whistle. Sophie gets charged with the foul. You honestly couldn't script something this ridiculous. It's completely shameful.
But like, why?
They are not protecting their players. Nobody's going to watch this if you're not protecting your star player. You're not protecting your players, period. But particularly your star players. No one's going to watch this. People are watching it because of Clark, and then even more because of Sophie Cunningham. And if you're going to just hang them out to dry, then, good heavens. And then what? Reese is out. Angel Reese is out too. Is she coming back to WNBA? That's a big question. Nobody's going to watch this anymore because they don't protect their players. It's a worthless organization. They have no idea how to protect their players. But, oh man, they're going to bitch and moan. Well, you better pay us the money. For what? You can't even protect your star players that draw the eyeballs. Now nobody's watching. Nobody's going to watch to see the star players sitting out with injuries because of poor treatment and poor officiating on the sides. Nobody's going to watch that. That's so dumb. I hate it because, man, they had a hot streak, and now look.
At the same time, Caitlin Clark, who happens to be the league's biggest superstar, can get jabbed in the eye, walk off the court covering her face, and still somehow end up with a technical foul called against her. That's the quality of referee decisions we're witnessing here. Paige gets a free pass for physical contact, Caitlyn gets penalized just for being on the court, and Sophie gets hit with financial penalties for complimenting Paige's ability to draw calls. Do you see what's happening here? This has nothing to do with maintaining game integrity. This has nothing to do with keeping things professional. This is all about power and control. This is the WNBA choosing their favorites. Meanwhile, Caitlynclark, the athlete who basically rescued the WNBA's television ratings single-handedly, receives the exact opposite kind of treatment. She takes a beating in every single game. Opponents grab her, push her around, smack her, and sometimes straight up assault her on the court. And what's the result? Either the referees ignore it completely, or even worse, they call a violation on her instead. Do you remember that particular game where someone literally poked her in the eye? She left the play holding her face, and the officials still ruled against her. That's the kind of star treatment the WNBA gives to their most important player. Basically no protection at all. And here's what really gets under fans' skin. Caitlyn absorbs all these hits without getting favorable calls from the refs. But the moment she shows even the slightest frustration, the referees slap her with a technical foul. Meanwhile, Paige can argue with officials all game long, throw her arms up dramatically, and somehow never faces any consequences. Sophie points this out publicly, and she's the one who ends up sending money to the league headquarters. That's the unfair treatment system on complete display. So when Sophie jokes about being 3 for 3 on WNBA fines, she's doing more than just making people laugh. She's revealing just how absurd this whole setup really is. You can look at players throughout the league who are involved in actual fights, getting into brawls, and openly showing disrespect to referees, yet they somehow manage to avoid any financial penalties whatsoever. But Sophie is apparently the person they've decided needs to be silenced. And guess what? She's completely turned the tables on them. Instead of being quiet, she's become more vocal than ever before. Every single fine turns into another viral TikTok video, another trending news story, another opportunity for people who don't even follow basketball to ask, hold on, who exactly is Sophie Cunningham? That's exactly why she found the whole situation so amusing. She realizes the WNBA just gave her brand another massive boost. Now let's talk about the fan situation because they play a major role in this whole spectacle. Paige's supporters are among the most intense you'll encounter anywhere. They actually celebrate when Sophie gets injured during games. They take over social media comment sections with some of the strangest opinions you'll ever see. They defend Paige like she's a mixture of LeBron James and Taylor Swift rolled into one person. And the WNBA absolutely loves this dynamic because Paige generates internet traffic for them. That's the real reason she gets special protection. That's why Sophie faces punishment instead. But here's the unexpected twist in all of this. The negativity that Paige's fans direct towards Sophie actually ends up making Sophie even more famous. Every negative comment turns into free marketing for her. Every video clip showing Sophie getting booed by crowds becomes a viral TikTok post, bringing her 50,000 fresh followers. Each financial penalty the league gives her generates more support from unbiased fans who can clearly see the unfair treatment happening. This is basic marketing strategy at work. Sophie doesn't have to spend money on giant advertising signs, television commercials, or paid social media promotions. The WNBA and Paige's fan army handle all her promotion completely free of charge. They spotlight her every action, every statement, every so-called violation against league rules. And Sophie simply collects the profits from all the attention. At the same time, the WNBA keeps shooting itself in the foot. League officials want people to view them as fair, professional, and credible, but their actions keep proving exactly the opposite. You can't run a sports league where one athlete gets pushed around and penalized for talking, while another receives celebrity treatment and constant protection from criticism. Regular fans pick up on this. Content creators notice it. Even people who only watch games occasionally can see what's happening. This is exactly why the WNBA continues to have problems with their reputation. And let's not overlook how the media handles all of this. Sports reporters like Scott Agnes and others who cover the Fever act more like public relations staff for the league than actual journalists. Rather than asking the hard questions, like why Caitlynclark gets punished for simply being there, or why Sophie keeps getting targeted, they just go along with everything, dismiss player injuries as no big deal, and pretend everything is perfectly normal. Basketball fans aren't foolish. They notice the unfair treatment. They see the attempts to hide problems. That's exactly why independent content creators are becoming so popular, because at least they're willing to tell people what's really going on. Sophie Cunningham is living proof that the WNBA's whole control plan completely fails. They hit her with fines to silence her, but every penalty just makes her speak up more. They try to get fans to dislike her, but every person who hates her just brings more attention to her personal brand. They want her to be their problem player, but she's becoming their most valuable marketing asset instead. The league couldn't write a better script if they tried, even though they're working as hard as they can to control the narrative. And this connects directly to Caitlin as well. The same league that's trying to silence Sophie is actively allowing their biggest star to get beaten up without any protection. That's not just stupid, it's deliberately harmful to their own success. You would expect the WNBA to give Caitlin the same favorable referee treatment that Paige receives. You would think they'd protect their most important player from getting hurt, from flagrant fouls, and from dangerous plays. But instead, they're too focused on chasing fines from Sophie Cunningham to worry about keeping Caitlin safe on the court. And here's the most ridiculous part of all this. The entire situation makes the WNBA look absolutely desperate for control. It's like they want power so badly that they can't even see how obvious their favoritism has become. When Paige gets handled with care while Caitlin gets the full contact treatment every single night, fans can't help but find it funny. It's almost like the league is running tryouts to decide who gets to be their chosen favorite. And here's the spoiler. It's not Caitlin. And it's definitely not Sophie. The reality is that the league has absolutely no clue how to deal with a player who actually enjoys being the bad guy. They find Sophie to punish her, but she just embraces that role even more every time they try to tear her down. She goes on Instagram and makes another funny post about it. Every time Paige's supporters flood her social media with negative comments, Sophie creates new content that gets twice as much interaction from viewers. She's basically teaching a graduate-level course in getting free advertising, and the WNBA is paying for all of it. Meanwhile, Clark finds herself caught right in the center of this mess. She's the league's biggest ticket seller, but she's also their most attacked player. League officials can't make up their minds whether they want to celebrate her or destroy her career. On one side, they absolutely need her because every single Clark game brings in double the crowd size, triples the television viewership numbers, and forces ESPN to actually act like they care about women's basketball. But on the flip side, they treat her like she's their worst enemy because she won't play the quiet, submissive character they're looking for. She fills up entire stadiums, but they still allow opponents to beat her up every single night. It's completely crazy. And then there's Paige. Paige doesn't have to work for any special treatment. She simply shows up, gets the star player calls from referees, and anybody who dares to question it, like Sophie, ends up receiving a fine notice in their mailbox. This isn't real competition anymore. This is playing favorites taken to an extreme level, and basketball fans are definitely paying attention. You can't convince people that this league operates on fairness when it's clearly built on unequal treatment. Everything points to one simple truth. The WNBA has absolutely no clue what they're doing. They choose their preferred players. They punish the wrong people for the wrong reasons, and while doing all of this, they make their own sport look ridiculous. And athletes like Sophie Cunningham are clever enough to use this dysfunction to their advantage. She finds every fine hilarious because she understands it's not really a punishment, it's free publicity. She's creating her own business success story using their complete lack of competence. And that's exactly why fans have such different opinions. Some people hate Sophie and think she plays dirty basketball. Others love her and consider her a champion for speaking the truth. But nearly everyone recognizes her name at this point, and that's something the WNBA cannot undo, regardless of how many financial penalties they decide to give her.